It's important to have the mind of gratefulness, and don't allow yourself, because if the reason why, if you don't hear this right now, because we live in the world right now, that's a reality. Okay, most of us are living in a places that we don't want to be. If we are to choose, I am sure that you would rather want to live in an island, in a place where you will be able to live with other lawkeepers, in a place that is clean, physically and spiritually, in a place you can get real food, in a place you can go to the ocean, get fish, you can eat things that are real. I'm sure. So once we begin to keep the law, all of a sudden we're no longer comfortable where we are. So it's easy for Satan. There are so many ways that he's fighting against us, those who are keeping the law. There are so many ways. So it's easy for Satan to get you distracted away from the blessings that Yah is giving us, the blessing that he has blessed us. And it's easy for Satan to get you, to deceive you into thinking that why isn't Yah doing this for me? Why isn't he doing that? Some of you will remember a brother that used to join us. There was a brother that used to join us. Some of you were here. And this is something that he will usually complain to me privately. He will complain to me that he's doing this and he's doing that, and that he felt that Yah is against him. He feels that Yah is against him because he's trying to do this. And what is his complaint? Okay. His complaint is there's two things that he wanted. Two things that's very important to him. One was his health. He had health issues. Okay. He had health issue. The second one was a wife. He wanted a wife. So these are two major issues, and he would love to have a good, clean life, health. And he would also like to marry biblically, find a true wife. So these were two issues. These things are not impossible. It's not impossible to get healing, to find a wife. They're not impossible. So only a fool will start showing their will begin to show their dissatisfaction. Only a fool begin to the point of telling someone else, I feel like God is against me. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. How come he's not answering my prayer? How come he's not doing this? Don't ever get to that point. Don't ever get to that point. We must have a humble spirit. No matter what, that's fine. It's okay. No matter what, even if you're going to bed every night and you don't have food, please go to the street and beg for money. So don't get to the point that you start acting like Yah owes us something, because he doesn't. If you read Deuteronomy chapter 28, Leviticus chapter 26, Deuteronomy 28, Leviticus 26, we are supposed to be in a worse situation than this. And our brothers and sisters around the world are in this situation, especially in America. There are so many, oh my goodness, There's so many old women, old men who are homeless on the street in America. They are homeless. They don't have a place to shower like the way that you do. All the things that we take for granted, these people don't have those things. Why am I pointing them out? I'm pointing them out because they are going through the courses of Deuteronomy chapter 28. So the warfare that we are facing today is not just in trying to get you to break the law. If the evil one can manage to get you to start thinking that, well, I'm keeping the law, how come I'm still suffering? How come I don't have a job? How come it's this? How come it's that? How come is That's the whole point with Job. Even his wife told him, curse Yah. Why don't you curse Yahweh and die? Curse him so that he can kill you. He still refuses. Job still refuses to curse Yah. And when he eventually tried to complain a little bit, and then Yah rebuked him for about 2 chapters, Yah kept asking him questions. Where were you when I created the heavens? Where were you when I created this? Where were you when I created that? So our war today, there are different ways Satan may not be able to get you to break the law. There are so many ways he's attacking us today. So many ways. And the goal is to get us to stop keeping the law. So if he's not able to get you to do that, but then he gets you to, now that you're keeping it and now that you are being zealous and you understand and you're learning and you're growing, Satan can then abandon trying to get you to fall and then come from a different angle and then uses your righteousness against you. Because if you're so strong that you're growing and you're learning and you're growing and you're getting closer to Yah, that can also be a weakness. Because then it's easy to start thinking, because you're getting stronger spiritually, because you're learning more, because you're coming closer to Yah, it's also easy for that to be a weakness. Because then it's easy for me to start thinking, well, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. How come all these people who are not doing these things, look at them. They have whatever they want. This is just one thing I'm asking Yah. How come he wouldn't do this for me? If he's so powerful and so mighty, how couldn't he do this for me? Oh my goodness, please, never you think like that. Never you think like that. Please. Look at the man in Luke chapter 19. Luke chapter 16 from verse 19. Luke chapter 16 from verse 19. The story of the rich man and the poor man. Who was the righteous? Who was the unrighteous? The rich man was the unrighteous, but he had everything that he needed. He enjoyed his life. But look at what happened when they both died. That's why Yeshua said that It's easier for a camel. Camel is bigger than a horse. They have a long neck and they carry loads. They're strong. He said that it's easier for a camel that is bigger than a horse. It's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle. You know, the needle that we use to sew, the needle that is in your sewing machine, the eye is that area where you put the thread. That's the eye of a needle. This pen cannot go through the eye of a needle. It's impossible for this pen that I'm holding here. It's impossible for this pen to go through the eye of a needle. Not even the tail of a camel can go through the eye of a needle. Not even the tail. Not to mention a whole camel. So, what Christ Yeshua HaMashiach is telling you that it's impossible for a rich person to get into the kingdom. It's impossible. That's what he was saying. It's impossible for a rich person to go into the kingdom. So, you see the kind of lifestyle that he lived. He was a poor man. If you compare the way he lived to the way people are living today, Christ was a poor man. He was a homeless man. He was a homeless man. In John chapter 10 verse 20, they say that he was crazy. He was mad. Meaning that he's mentally ill. So that Luke chapter 16 is a very good example. Because the truth of the matter is that the system in this world, is satanic. The monetary system in this world is satanic. The children of Satan, the Europeans, are the ones that print money, and they control the financial system of the whole world. There are more than 100 countries in this world. The Gentiles, the Europeans, control the financial system of the whole world. That is the reason why you hear something called sanctions. Sanctions. Why do you think that America can sanction Russia? Can put sanctions on Iran? Can put sanctions on Iraq? Can put sanctions on all these countries? Why? How come these other countries cannot put sanctions on America or Europe? Because these people control the financial system of the world. They control the financial system of the world. And this financial system in the world right now is designed to get you to break the law. If you're going to get money from them, you will most likely have to break the law and the commandment of the Most High. That's how that system is designed. It's almost impossible to operate in their system perfectly and please Yah. It's impossible. And what did Yah tell us? Come out from it. Get away from their system. It says in James 4:4 that it's basically you're making yourself an enemy of Yah when you get in their system. So it's easy for us to begin to judge ourselves by their standard. It's easy. Just because you don't have any money in your bank account doesn't mean that you're poor. But that's the standard that they've laid out. Look at them who are rich. Look at them with their money. They are miserable. They are miserable. And you see them killing themselves. They are high on drugs. They are using alcohol to keep going on a daily basis. These are people that have millions in their bank account, but they're miserable. You can't even say that they are poor. They are beyond poor. They are lower than poor. So their financial system is not the same financial system that Yah created. The way that Yah wants us to make money is not the way that they're making money. It's not the system that Yah created. When you make money the way that Yah wants you to make money, you're going to be making money, but you're going to be perfect in the sight of Yah. You will be keeping the law. Everything will be fine. If you do it Yah's way, the way that our ancestors did it. The problem that so many Hebrew Israelites have today is that they know that they're Hebrew Israelites, but they're still stuck in the satanic system. In the satanic system run by the Gentiles, run by the Europeans. So what you end up having is people who know that they are Hebrew Israelites, but they are also stuck in this particular system. So you begin to hear something like, well, we are in our captivity, so we don't really have to do that. Then you begin to hear things like, brothers telling sisters, well, you're not supposed to wear pants, but because of your job, when you get off from work, take off the pants. You can wear your pants to work, but when you're done from work, take it off. Oh my goodness. No. Oh. How could you say that? We have we have people that died. I will never, ever, ever forget this woman. I used to be in the movie industry. Okay? Yah's willing. I don't know. But Yah's willing. Yah's willing. I know that if I go back full time into production, I'm going to be making movies for non-profit. I'm going to be making movies, but that movie will be about the Sabbath. It will be stories where people will get a movie to watch a movie, but by the time they're done watching that movie, they will learn about the Sabbath, because Sabbath, keeping the law, things like that will be incorporated into the story. So it will look like a regular movie, but the storyline will teach you about the law, teach you about the truth, teach you about that. So if I go into it again, it will be something like that. And definitely one of the stuff I would like to do, one of this I would like to do, is the story of the woman you read in the book of Maccabees. The story of the woman you read in Maccabees. This woman was killed. Before she was killed, she watched her children, the Greeks, killed her children right in her face. And afterward, they killed her. For what reason? Because they refused to eat pork. They refused to eat pork. If it was today, oh my goodness, we would take all that pork, eat everything, and claim that we will eat everything and lick our finger and say that we're in our captivity because they are forcing us. So what's the difference? Please don't forget what Yeshua HaMashiach said in Matthew chapter 10. Think not that I came to bring peace on earth. I did not come to bring peace but sword. He goes on to describe how, because of him, family members will split. Family members will stop talking to each other because of Christ. Why? Because some of them will want to keep the law like he taught us to. In Matthew 23. Some of them will refuse to keep the law. And that will bring division. He also said that whoever wants to save their life will lose it. And whoever loses their life will get it back. So we have to understand that this is not just talk. We have to be prepared. If it means that we have to put our life into this, we need to begin to be prepared. We need to begin to be prepared. Because our ancestors, they put their lives into it. The apostles, the disciples. So, if we are not willing, if we are not able to resist the company we work for that forces you to wear trousers if you're a woman, if you can't even resist that, how can you resist death? So it's not okay to wear your trousers if you're a woman to work. It's not okay to wear trousers to work just because you're going to work, and then when you get off, you take it off. This is what people are teaching on the street. That's not okay. Yah says don't do it. If it's okay for you to wear your trouser and go to work and then come back and take it off, why is it not okay for someone else to go to work on the Sabbath, get off very early, and observe the rest of the day? They can make the same argument. Then you begin to hear different kinds of argument. Some people will rape a woman. A man will rape a woman and claim that, well, I was in the mood. So it's not okay. It is not okay. If they will not allow you to wear dress or skirt, quit that job. Look for something else. And that puts me back to where I started. The whole system that has been designed is designed to get you to break the law. Their financial system is designed to get you to break the law. And that's why you have to start making plans, working towards being financially free, financial independence. You have to start working towards that now. And the worst thing that can happen is to put your children into that situation. Because the financial system of this world is linked to their education system. It's slavery. So we need to be getting ourselves away from this particular system. If you need ideas on how to make money, pursue money, and make money biblically, I don't mind. I can give you ideas. I can give you counsels. Because that's something that I'm trying to do myself. So in that way, you can have true financial freedom. and not be stuck in their system, because their system is part of the curses of Deuteronomy chapter 28. As long as if you follow the system that are present in the world, if you do what everyone else is doing, you were born, you go to school, you get a degree, you find a job, you cannot keep the law. It's impossible. It's impossible. So that's a satanic system, and you cannot know true freedom. You cannot have true happiness. You cannot be healthy. So it's easy to get stuck in this particular system, and then all of a sudden you start blaming Yah. Like the brother that I talked about. Okay, he was sick. He was sick. The Most High never created anybody to be sick. Most of the time when we do get sick, like we see in Psalm 107, most of the time when we do get sick, we get sick because of the things that we eat. That's why we get sick. When we begin to eat the wrong things, when we begin to eat the wrong things, we become sick. Psalm 107, verse 17 and 18. Psalm 107. Psalm 107, verse 17. Some were sick through their sinful ways. Some people were sick through their sinful ways because of the iniquities endured, because of their iniquities, because of their sins. Psalm 107, verse 17, 18, and 19. Psalm 107 from verse 17. Some people were sick through their sinful ways because of their iniquities endured affliction. They looted any kind of food, and they draw near to the gates of death. Verse 19. Then they cried out to Yah in their trouble, and he saved them from their distress. Verse 20. He sent out his word and healed them and delivered them from destruction. Let them thank Yah for his steadfast love, for his wonderful works to humankind. So people get sick, like as I've said before. Things are going to get worse when it comes to sickness. Things are going to get worse. When it comes to a lot of things, things are going to get worse. It's not going to get better. Because when you have a man who is drinking alcohol, but not just any alcohol, but man-made alcohol, beer, wine, soda. When you're drinking these things, you are eating genetically modified oil. When you're eating these things, your sperm does not come down from heaven. Your sperm is created by what you eat. Your sperm is created by what you eat. We come from the ground. The things you eat are supposed to be grown on the ground. They're supposed to be natural. Like as I told you this morning, I ate like 3 or 4 oranges, 2 mangoes, plantain. These are natural things from the ground. These, as I eat these things, like the water I drink, supposed to come from the ground. So as I eat these things, these are things that gives me energy. But I also produce my sperm through the things that I eat. And that sperm is what goes into a woman and then turns into a baby. So it starts from the food that I eat. If I stop eating, at some point I'm going to die. I am alive now because of the food I ate 3 months ago, 4 months ago. So the things I eat is what eventually where that sperm is produced from. If I'm eating junk, like as I used to, Chinese food, fried chicken, soda, pizza, burgers, these are the foods of the Gentiles. Allow the Gentiles to eat their food. Their food is killing them. Let them eat their food. It's called Western diet. Almost all the disease that they suffer is because of what they eat. It's well known, this is well known, that Asians, when they are in their country, they don't get sick. They are well, they live long, they have good health. As soon as they move to America, they become fat and their women begin to develop breast cancer. This is what happens to the Asians because of the stuff that they eat in America. So when a man is eating all this junk, your sperm, like as I say, it's not going to come down from heaven. Your sperm will be produced by what you eat. Just like your pee, when you urinate, that's the things that you draw, your fluid that your body don't want. That's what's coming out. So when you're eating junk, and then you then put it inside a woman, and it becomes a baby. What kind of baby do you think will be produced? Yeah, the kind of babies that we're having right now. Babies that are now being diabetic at a young age. Babies that now need glasses because they are not okay. These are babies that are being born now are like, they are like, they are like non-organic food, like genetically modified food. They're kind of like that. So these will be genetically modified children. I don't want genetically modified children. I want organic children, real natural children. I don't want genetically modified children. The children that are being born now are genetically modified. That's why you now see little children that need glasses. They now have kidney stones. They're having kidney disease at the age of 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. You see a 12 years old girl. She looks like she's 19 or 21. You see a 14 or 13 years old boy. He looks like he's 20 something. It's the food. It's the chemicals. So these kids that are being born today, they are not real. They are genetically modified children. I don't want that. I want real organic kids. But it starts from what I eat. I cannot claim that I want something real and then I eat things that are not real. I have to eat things that are real. If I want, and these children are very stupid. These kids that are being born today, they're very dumb. They're not very intelligent. They are not very intelligent. Most of the day, they are in front of a screen. They are in front of a screen, either playing video games or for whatever reason, most of the time. And being in front of that screen all the time is not good. Being in front of that screen all the time is not good. It's not good because of the radiation that comes from those tablets, from the computer, from the cell phone. That radiation affects their brain because their brain is still young, still small. So the radiation from that phone, the radio wave affects their brain more, according to studies. So when I tell you that things are going to get worse, it's going to get worse because these dummies, these genetically modified things are the ones that are going to be controlling the world in the future. So the world is in trouble. It's going to become more and more uncomfortable place for the real children, the real organic children who are natural. And that's why I want that kingdom to come really soon. So, but I can't claim that I want real children and and then I'm eating crap. I'm eating nonsense. I have to eat natural, because, like as I said, we are, we come from, just like we are produced from the food, natural, from the ground, just like we're produced from that. That is the same thing that we're supposed to be eating. Do you see how this thing works? When we die, we go back into that ground. We came from the ground. We came from those foods. Your father did not have sperm, thrown down from heaven. It was from what he was eating. That was what made up a sperm that came out from him. And that sperm became you. But if your father is drinking chemicals in the name of wine, those wines are chemicals. If your father is drinking chemicals and eating this stuff, today you now have all kinds of chemicals that are hidden. Even in your seasoning, the seasoning that you put in your food to make it taste good, it has one major chemical called monosodium glutamate. Monosodium glutamate, popularly known as MSG. Go and look at the effects of that MSG on human beings. So these things, when I'm eating a food that has MSG, drinking water that they collected toilet water. This is what they do. They collect toilet waters from the city, and when people flush their toilet, it goes into the sewage system, and their toilet goes to the sewage plant. What the Gentiles are doing is that the Gentiles will take that sewage, those toilets, and they begin to clean it up. They will keep doing this until it looks pure and smells good. And they drink it. So if I'm drinking a water like that, eating fish that has been genetically modified, eating chickens that they fed genetically modified soya bean, eating corn that has been genetically modified. When I'm eating these things, the truth of the matter is that when I produce a sperm, it will be a lie, and it will be, I will not be honest to myself if I think that it will not affect my sperm. And that sperm is what will become the baby. That's why kids are so sick today. Young people, they are they're not intelligent. Young people of today are not bright. They are very dumb. They're very stupid. They are very unintelligent. They are sick. And I hear statistics that are saying that these young people, they are going to be dying in the presence of their parents. Like their parents will still be alive while they die. So you're going to see them dying at the age of 35, 40, 45. They're dead because they are not real. What do you expect? They don't play outside anymore. They don't run around. They're always in front of a screen. These are not real kids. These are genetically modified children. They are genetically modified. They are GMO kids. Now, for the Gentiles, that's fine. But we are also becoming like them. And our children are also like that. But all these things can be avoided if we can just simply stick to the scripture and keep the law. Because if you're keeping the law, you're going to eat the way that Yah wants you to eat. You're going to live the way that Yah wants you to live. And you're not going to be affected. Because at the end of the day, these are things that lead to sickness. So when after eating garbage, after eating dust beans, after eating dirt on the ground, and then based on the things I eat, I produce a sperm, and that sperm goes into my wife, and she becomes pregnant, and then she gives birth to a child that is sick, and then now I'm supposed to be blaming Yah? How is that his fault? How is that the fault of the Most High? Then a little newborn baby is sick. When a brand newborn baby is sick, that has nothing to do with the Most High. Our Creator is not responsible. The father and the mother of that child is responsible. If we want to be honest. But it's easy. We're so easy. We're so used to pointing finger at people that we now even try to point finger at the Most High. How can this innocent little child be sick? How can she be sick? How can he be sick? They don't know anything. We are lying. We're being dishonest when we do that. Because if we don't take proper care of our body before that child is conceived, that child is conceived, they're going to be sick. Every young person must take care of their body by monitoring what you eat. Don't let anything that is not real or natural go into your mouth. Don't drink orange juice because orange juice is not real. It's chemical. Even when they write 100% orange juice, don't drink it. You can go on YouTube and you can see videos on YouTube that show you how they make those orange juice. It's not real. They pour in chemicals in there to make it smell like orange juice. Initially, they start making it with orange. By the time it's done, it's no longer orange juice. Because what they do is that they gather lots and lots of oranges. They gather a lot of oranges and they squeeze them. They squeeze out the juice and then they store it in a tank. They store that liquid in a tank and it can last up to 6 months to 1 year in that huge tank. That is the reason why you are able to go to store all the time and you're able to buy orange juice, because they store it in a tank. Between 6 to a year, it stays in that tank. So when they finally now get it out to put it and package it for you, it will no longer smell like orange. It's no longer orange. Squeeze orange right now and put it in a cup and leave it overnight and see what happens. Leave an orange for 2 days in a cup. See what happens. That orange will spoil because Yah designed it for you to drink it right away. So what do you think happens when they store orange in a huge, gigantic tank for 6 months? It spoils. That orange will spoil. That's what happens. So what do? They now bring it out and they begin to cook it. They do all kinds of things to it. And then there's a company that makes perfume, colognes, that give them chemical that they now pour into that orange juice to make it smell like orange. So that company actually makes perfume that smell like orange. And then they label it 100% orange juice. You can go on YouTube and you see videos about these things. You're now drinking something that they actually pour in chemicals to make it smell like orange. This chemical stays in your body. That's why I say stay away. Even something as simple as orange juice. If it's sold in the store, stay away. Buy some oranges yourself and squeeze it yourself and drink it. Because these are things that eventually will make you sick and will make your kids sick. And then you begin to point finger to our Creator and begin to blame our Creator. Where is He? How can He allow this child to be sick? But the child is sick because of your actions when you were younger. So like the person that I was talking about, I was using as an example, that was blaming Yah. That sickness, the fact that he was sick, first of all, that can be cured. But you have to be willing to let go of your old ways, both on how you live and how you eat. That can be cured. But how can that be cured when he's not even living a holy life? As of the time that he was telling me this, and as of the time that he was blaming the Most High, as of the time that he was blaming the Most High, that he doesn't understand, that he feels like the Most High is against him. As of that time, he doesn't wear his fringes. He had no fringes. I'm just using fringes as an example. Just as an example. He wasn't even keeping the Sabbath. He simply assumed that he's a Hebrew. And then he feels that the Most High owes him some things. The second point was wife. He was also, in desperate need of a wife. Over my dead body, will I give a wife to a man like that? Who is not keeping the law, but you're blaming the Most High for not granting you this true desire. Who in their right mind will give you their daughter as a wife? Only a mad person will do that. So here you have a man who believes that he's a Hebrew. He's not even keeping the basic laws. He doesn't even wear fringes. He simply loves to talk about the Most High, but he's not keeping the law. And yet, he's blaming the Most High for not answering his prayers. I would not even give you, who would want to do that? So, it's easy to fall into, and that was the state that this brother fell into. The state of now blaming the Most High and expect, doesn't owe us anything. The Most High does not owe us anything. Actually, he does. Yeah. He owes us punishment. He owes us destruction. He's supposed to destroy us. Because we all deserve to die. We all deserve to be punished for living a life of lie, for breaking the Sabbath, for stealing, for cheating, All the abominations we've done in the past were supposed to be destroyed. That's what Yah owes us. But we simply just pretend as if that doesn't matter. And we just focus on, oh, why isn't he doing this for us? Why isn't he doing that for us? And what you need to understand is that, see, the evil one, Satan, you must watch yourself. Everybody, every brother and sister must watch themselves, because the more righteous you become, if you don't watch carefully, Satan will use that against you. It's very good to become righteous. It's very good to come closer to Yah. Like Job, right? You notice that how the more righteous he became, that makes him a target. Job is a very good example. The more righteous that Job became, that made him a target. Did you see what happened there? Yah said to Satan, have you noticed my servant Job? Have you noticed him? So the more righteous you become, the more you are more likely to be tested. That is also the reason why when you look at the book of Revelation, you see that Satan did not go after the children of all the women. No, he only went to attack the children of the woman. Those children of hers that keep the commandments of Yah and have their faith in Yeshua. Like us, we have our faith in Yeshua. So now we are trying to keep the commandments of Yah. We are trying to walk out our salvation with fear and trembling. We are walking, hoping that Yah will find us worthy. We're hoping, I'm hoping that Yah will find me worthy to be among those that will come into his kingdom. That is my hope. But then I have to now walk out my salvation with fear and trembling. I have to now do his laws and his commandments, hoping that he will find me worthy. So if Satan sees that he cannot bring you down with a woman, for those of you, if you are a man, Satan will try to bring you down with a woman, because we like women as men, unless if for those who are homosexual. But Satan will try to use those things that he knows that you like. That's why he makes his children to walk around the way they walk around today, half naked. Why do you think that? What do you think that is for? What do you think this is all about? So Satan is trying in different ways to have them be walking around half naked and let you see that all the time, to the point that you are all constantly seeing it. You're constantly seeing half naked women. You're constantly seeing it. You're constantly seeing it. To always put in your mind, sex, 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 sex. And people will even say it. Sexy. So all these women that are walking around butt naked today, walking around with tight clothes, if you ask them, they dress sexy. So what Satan is trying to get you to do is think about sex, 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 sex. When we are supposed to be thinking about law, 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 Yah's law, Yah's law. Because each time you see these women with their tight jeans, with their short skirt, what do you think about? Sex. Now, for the brothers that want to be honest, they will admit that. And I will admit that. That is what we think about. Whenever you see a woman that dressed like that, the first thing that comes to your mind is sex. That's exactly what Satan wants. So the more you understand this, the more Matthew chapter 13 begins to make sense. Matthew 13 from verse 24. What do we see? The good seed that Yah planted, and then the weed, the bad seed, and they are growing together. They are in the same place growing together. So for those that truly want to be righteous, this is a problem. Those that truly want to be righteous, it's a problem. Righteous men don't want to be seeing half-naked women every day. It's not that we are gay or we are homosexual. It's just that if I want to see a naked woman, I want to see my own wife. I don't want to see a naked woman that is not my wife, because there's nothing good that will come out of that. Just like David, when he saw a naked woman, that did not end very well. I know what the ending is going to be, and I don't want to I don't want to get the result of that ending. Any interaction between me and a woman who is not my wife, any interaction that is not biblical, that will lead to it would not end well. And a righteous man will always try to avoid that situation. This is why you see what's going on in the world today. So Satan are now using these people, just like he used Eve. Eve did not know that she was being used. Satan and us, we all know. Satan knows, and we know that Yah has zero tolerance for sexual sins. We all know this. Satan knows it. I know it. You know it. That Yah has zero tolerance for sexual sin. That's the reason why he's making these people to walk around the way dressing the way they dress. That's why. So you're so overwhelmed psychologically, because that's all you see each time you go outside. And the women who are participating in this, they are just like this. They are in the same situation that Eve was in the beginning, in the garden. When Satan approached Eve, Eve did not know. Eve did not have any special meeting with Satan. Oh, let's do this. No, she did not know that she was being used. So when you see these women that argue with you, or that don't want to give up their pants, and they don't realize that Satan is using them. When you dress sexy, there's nothing good that comes out of that. There's nothing good that comes out of dressing sexy. It's always something negative. You are being used to distract men. And unfortunately, most of the time, men cannot control themselves. They either go and watch pornography after they see you in your sexiness and your tight clothes, or they go to a strip club, or they flat out go to a prostitute. So there's nothing good that comes out of that. And that's what Satan wants to accomplish. That is exactly what he wants to accomplish. Now, for the woman herself, there's nothing good that comes out of that. Because when you dress sexy, Satan is using you to get men to sin. But just like Eve in the beginning, nothing good will also come to you. Because he lied to Eve. He lied to Eve. So it's the same thing when a woman dresses sexy today. And I feel so sorry for these young girls. Oh, I feel sorry for young girls. This is repeating itself over and over and over. What young girls don't understand, what they don't understand, and basically all women, what they don't understand is that when you are wearing clothes that is very tight, when you quote unquote dress sexy, men don't respect you. I wish these women will understand this. When men look at you, you are like a sex object. You're like a sex doll to their eyes. Honest men will admit this. All they're thinking about is sex. Why would you want a man like that sees you as a sex object? Why would you want a man that as soon as they see you, the first thing they're thinking about is sex? Oh my goodness. A wise girl will never want a man like that. Because when he's done with you, like a sex doll, he would dump you. So this is the same thing that Satan is doing doing today. So at the end of the day, he's the one who is winning. He's using one stone to kill two birds by making you to dress sexy, convincing you and deceiving you to dress sexy, and men are seduced and they end up committing sexual sins. You yourself don't get anything. It's like you look at a typical young girl today, a girl the age of 15, 16, 17. She's wearing tight jeans, tight this, tight that, all tight up. And most men are pretending. Most men will not admit what I'm admitting. The truth is that when men look at you, all they think about is sex. When you dress certain way, when you're not moderately dressed, all we think about is sex. So these girls who dress like this, and a man will become interested in them, asking for their number, and then begin to tell you lies, begin to tell you that he loves you, he's thinking about you, he couldn't sleep. These are all lies. He's simply telling you exactly what you want to hear. He's telling you these things to soften your heart and get you to let down yourself. So I see young girls today being in the same situation that Eve was in. Satan deceiving you into so-called quote unquote dressing sexy. And then somebody will talk to you. And here you are thinking, dreaming how you're going to have a wonderful family, how your kids are going to look like him, how you're going to have a house. You're dreaming all this. But what you don't realize is that all he wants is sex. And he became interested in this because of the way you were dressing. Because that's what happens when you dress like that. When you wear pants, when you wear a pant, a trouser as a woman, there is not much left for us to see. There is not much left for our imagination. But when you're properly covered, the only man that will become interested in you is a righteous man, and not because of your body. So this is what I see with young people today, and then these young men will become interested in them. Then they tell you that they're in love. Sometimes they even go ahead and get married. But as soon as the girl gets pregnant, has the first child, the second child, all of a sudden she doesn't look the way she used to look. All of a sudden, she's now fat. All of a sudden, she has stretch mark. And the man will just leave and find someone else. And the girl is left with 2, 3 kids, 4 kids. Sometimes it doesn't even get to that point. But at the end of the day, the girls are left suffering. They are the ones that are more emotionally attached, because that's the way that Yah created it. But the girls suffer most, because girls and women are much more emotionally. You are more emotional than men. A woman was designed to be with one man at a time. The Most High created and designed, like your phone is programmed to make phone calls. Yah programmed women, a woman to be with one man at a time. And the way that Yah programmed and designed this is the reason why Yah told the Israelites, sometimes, not all the time, sometimes, if we go to war, Yah told our ancestors, if in some circumstances Yah will say, kill every male and the women that have known a man, meaning that they were no longer virgins. And he says, if you're going to take women, only take the virgins. Only the virgins. But any woman that have known a man, kill her too. Why? Why is that? Because her royalty is to the man that she knew. That's the reason why women will go on to forget how many men they've been with, but they will never forget that man that took their virginity. That's the way it's supposed to be. That's the way it's supposed to, biblically, that's the way it's supposed to be. So what you have is Yah designed a woman to be with one man, but he did with a woman to be with one man at a time. If that man dies, then she's free to marry someone else. So there are other scriptures like Deuteronomy chapter 24 that also shows this. But he didn't design men to be like that. He did not design men to be like that. The point that I'm trying to make is that whenever this happens, women tend to suffer more. These girls will cry for days. Some may even commit suicide because what she was thinking was not what he was thinking. Because Satan have deceived her into quote-unquote dressing sexy. She now attracted a man or a boy that became interested in her just because of her body. A man that have determined in his heart that I must get on top of this girl. I must see what's behind this pant. And you don't want a man to become interested in you just because of your body. So when he finally gets what he wanted, he will find some reason and give you some excuse and leave. And these girls gets to suffer. The men don't really suffer that much. A man can leave you today and find someone else tomorrow. We're not designed that way. We're not designed to the way like what the Gentiles have taught us. One man, one woman. It's not the way that Yah designed it. A man was designed to love multiple women at the same time. A man can love multiple women at the same time if he's doing it biblically. Because there are laws that Yah put in place to make that possible. And there's no partiality. There's no, you have to do things righteously. So what we have now is a disaster. And some of the worst pains you can go to you can go through is emotional pain. Emotional pain. And due to the lies and deception and misguidance from Satan, a lot of people are in emotional pains today. And it also pains me when I see young people fall into this trap, fall into a lie that, oh, you should dress sexy because that's how you're going to get attention. The lie is that you're getting the wrong attention. You're getting the wrong attention. You're getting attention from people who are only interested in you for your body, who will dump you as soon as they get tired of your body or when you get old. But when you dress moderately, yes, you might not get as much attention, but if you get one, it's going to be real. And it doesn't matter whether you become 500 pounds. It doesn't matter whether your stomach is full of stretch mark after you gave birth. It doesn't matter, because that person was not interested in you because of your body. They never became interested in you because of your body. They became interested in you because of your behavior, not your body, because of your behavior. And that person understands that this flesh and blood will pass away. What matters is your behavior, your spiritual life. So what we have in the world today is a disaster. And there's a lot of finger pointing going on. And most of that finger, we're trying to point it up to heaven. Why isn't God doing this for me? Why isn't He doing that? Why isn't He doing this? And our understanding of the truth has been altered. We now have a whole strange understanding of the Most High, thinking that we can get Him to bless us by giving Him money. Are you kidding me? Thinking that we can, we give God money and then He give us blessing. Where is that in the scripture? The only way you obtain His blessing is by keeping His commandment. That's it. You don't get any blessing from Yah by offering Him money. So that particular brother, it's not that he can't find a wife. It's just that no righteous person in their right mind will give their daughter to a man who is not keeping the Sabbath, who knows about the Sabbath but refuses to keep it because of his job, who is not wearing fringes. Who in their right mind will give you their daughter? Who in their right mind will spend their time raising their daughter properly, righteously, only to turn around and give that daughter to you? Most people will not do that. So what does this mean? It means that those things that he was blaming the Most High for, it's actually his fault. It's actually his fault. Just like in most cases today, we are suffering because of our own fault. Because our mindset today, the mindset that we have, is now being changed, altered by the Europeans. The standard of living that Yah laid out for us is very simple. Very simple. If you begin to live the way that the Most High wants you to live, oh man, you will be happy. You're not going to have money, but you're going to be very happy. You'll be grateful. If you begin to follow the standard of living of the Most High, He gave us a standard of living. The way we're supposed to live our life. We abandon it and we begin to follow the standard of living of the Gentiles, the standard of living of the Europeans, the standard of living of the heathens. So when we are no longer able to catch up to their standard of living, we start feeling sad. People think you're crazy because you don't have a degree. because you don't have a master's degree, because you don't have PhD. These are all the standard of living of the Gentiles. So we go through all kinds of length. We go through all kinds of ways to get to their standard of living. And that means that we have to now send our precious children off to college, off to university, where our sons will go there and turn into whoremongers. Our daughters go there and turn into full-fledged prostitutes. If you know what prostitute means according to the Bible, Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 13 to 21. Because a girl loses her virginity before she gets married, Yah calls that prostitution. That's whoredom. So because we're chasing after the standard of living, because we are chasing after the standard of living, trying to live up to the standard of the Europeans, that's why we're suffering. That's why you try and try and you try and you try and you try, you get tired, you fall down, you're tired, you're like, and you start feeling bad because you're not keeping up with other people. You don't have to do that. You don't have to keep up with other people. You don't have to live like that. The way that Yah wants us to live is so simple. You could have a tent somewhere. You can have a tent and be in your tent and be happy. Be happy. And people will say, you see, I told you, he's crazy. She's crazy, I told you. Because they can't understand where your happiness is coming from. The reason why we're so much suffering today, our people are so exhausted, sick, is because we're following these people, the Gentiles, the Europeans. Because I see things and I just watch. I see people, oh my goodness. I see people getting off from work. I see women getting off from work and they go to a restaurant. Oh. They go to a restaurant and they buy their dinner from restaurant and they take it home. And you can see, sometimes I take pictures of these people. You see how with plates, like 3 or 4 plates in a bag, and she takes it home. That's going to be the food for the evening. These so-called foods are not good for you or for her. It has so much chemicals. It's not healthy. But she doesn't have time. She went to work in the morning. By evening, she's exhausted. She has to go home. She's tired. How do you expect her to go to work in the morning, walk, and then go back home and go back and go to the store, buy some things, and go stand next to a heat and cook? She's tired. She has to go back to work tomorrow morning. So I feel sorry for these women. So they go to the store and they buy these junks. That's what they feed their children. Sometimes you see some of them with pizza and a bottle of Coke. Oh. And they go home, they sit down, they open it up and they begin to eat it. It tastes really good. It tastes good. They are laughing. They are eating it. And after they're done eating it, everybody goes to bed. Woke up in the morning, she's off to work. Everybody's off to work. And the kids are off to school. So there's not enough time to actually go to the store, actually walk out and pick up potatoes, pick up beans, rice, vegetables, onions. There's no time to go pick these things up and actually come home and cook that beans, cook that yam, cook. There's no time for this because these are real foods. So what you have is all those chemicals that they now have in the pizza, in the fried chicken, all those things. These chemicals have negative effects in the body. All because we are following the European standard. Because you have to keep a job, you have to go to that work. You don't have to work like that. You don't have to walk like that because we have put ourselves in a situation. We put ourselves in a situation where, because we're trying to follow the European standard, so we put ourselves in a certain situation and then we get stuck. And then sometimes we get frustrated and we begin to blame God. We blame God for not helping us. But we are the one that got ourselves in that situation. We are the one that refuse to live the way that he wants us to live. But then we begin to blame him when we begin to live the way that the Europeans are living. And we can't keep up with the way that the Europeans are living. We buy a house that we cannot afford. We buy a car that we cannot afford. Because in order to afford these things, we're going to have a certain kind of a job. That's not the way that Yah wants us to live. That's not the way that he wants us to live at all. So we follow up their system and then we get stuck. And this is the satanic system. That's the whole point. The whole idea is to trap you into a situation where you get stuck. You must go to work, whether you like it or not. You have to go to work. Whenever you are in a situation where you must go to work to survive, something is not right. There's a problem. If you must go to work to survive, there's a problem. You're not living the right way. You are not living the right way. And that's why you have to now begin to walk towards a situation where you don't have to go to work to survive. Because you've done certain things, you've taken care of things. Their system was not designed to allow you to be able to take care of certain things and be able to relax. That's why it's impossible to build a house in their land. And you can never own a property in their land. It was intentionally designed that way. Because think about it. If you are in a situation where your house belongs to you, and maybe you are able to get into a situation where, let's say your house belongs to you, and you have a little bit of money left, and you go buy a bunch of goats, a bunch of maybe cows, or maybe a bunch of chickens. I'm going to give you a very simple, this is not for everyone. This is not really supposed to be public, because anything that will help someone to survive, anything that is good, Yah does not give, there are certain things that Yah reserves for the righteous. So there are certain things that I'm not allowed to just tell everybody. No, there are certain things I'm not allowed. If it's valuable and it's precious and it's helpful, it's only reserved for the righteous. So there are certain things that I cannot just tell everybody. You have to be keeping the law. And you have to love Yah and love his law for you to get those kind of information. But I'm just going to use this one as an example. If you are in a situation where your house belongs to you, I want to give you a comparison compared to the life you're living right now. What if you are in a situation where you have a house that belongs to you 100%, and in the back of your house you are raising your chickens, bunch of chickens. You spend like a couple of some money and buy a bunch of chickens, and you're raising them. What happens? That chicken can be producing eggs. You can turn around and be selling the eggs, or you can be hatching the eggs and having more chickens. That is an income right there. That is an income. That is an extra income that you don't have to do anything. It's like, you must not have to go to work. You can always take one chicken and go to the market and sell it and use the money to buy the things you need. So with that kind of lifestyle, you don't have to go to work. You own where you live. It belongs to you. I'm just giving you a simple example. There are a lot more stuff you could do that will even guarantee that you would not go to work. But again, those ones are, what I'm saying right now is being recorded. So there's certain information I cannot just put out in public because it's being recorded. So there are other things that you can do. These are things that Yah reserved for his people. Because the reason why is because when you begin to keep the law, then you begin to come out of the curses of Deuteronomy chapter 28. And these are the kind of principles that you begin to apply. And you become truly free from the bondage of this world. But because this is being recorded, I'm not going to go too deep into that. So these are things that, most of our people don't know this thing. And we're suffering. You get old really fast. Because of the way you work, you have to work like 6 days or 7 days a week. Because you have to pay this bill, you have to pay that bill, you don't have to pay all those things. You could have your own house, buy solar panels, put solar panels on your roof. That's how you get your power. Dig a well in your compound. That's how you get your water. I mean, the way that Yah wants us to live, you can have a very simple life. You can have a very simple, enjoyable, and don't have to be stressed out. You see our people today. They are driving big, gigantic BMW, big, huge Mercedes. They live in a huge house. But look at their life. Look at their life. They are miserable. They are a slave. They don't know anything about Yah. They don't know anything about the Most High. They are miserable. They are slaves. Those who don't have those things are better than them. Because it goes back to what Satan told Yeshua in Luke chapter 4. It goes back to that. If you will worship me, I will give you the glories of this world. The glories of the kingdoms of this world. What is their glory today? Money. Money. Money is the glory of this world right now. So those that have chosen to worship Satan, how do you choose to worship Satan? Don't worship the Most High. If you stop keeping his law, you're worshiping Satan. Failure to worship the Most High by keeping his laws, failure to keep Yah's law, is an automatic worshiping of Satan. Because Satan doesn't want you to keep Yah's law. He doesn't want you to keep Yah's law. So if you are refusing to keep the law of the Most High, by default, automatically, you are obeying Satan. And he will give you money if you're willing to work on the Sabbath day. If you're willing to go to his school system, they are going to put exams on the Sabbath days. They're going to put tests on Sabbath days and on the new moon days. If you're willing to ignore the Sabbath days and the new moon days and ignore those things, and if you're willing to do that, when you graduate, they give you a certificate and you're going to get some money. You get money. And that's what you see today with our people. They've gone to school, they're quote unquote educated, but they don't know anything. They don't know anything. And Yah will not allow them to get certain information. So they remain in bondage until they begin to keep the law. So when you look at a lot of people today, in your mind, oh man, look at her, look at him. They're so successful. Look at their car, look at their house, look at this, look at that. That's what you're thinking. But the person you're looking at is miserable. They are living in bondage. They don't know anything about the Most High. They don't know the Most High. 1 John chapter 2 verse 3 to 6. 1 John chapter 2 verse 3 to verse 6. 1 John chapter 2 verse 3 to verse 6 says that by this we know that we know him, if we keep his commandments. Anyone that claims to know him but does not keep his commandment is a liar. So Satan is doing exactly what he wanted to do to Yeshua. That was the whole point of having that particular incident in the Bible. That was the reason why it was written down there. So Satan is like, if you're willing to worship me, I will give you all the glories of this world. Money. And our people go after this money. They are not keeping the Sabbath. They're not growing their beard. They don't know the Most High because of money from Satan. The way that the Most High wants us to live is different. He doesn't want us to depend on anybody. Rather, he wants us to do certain things and do certain things that will let us be free. But most people don't know this today. And they are suffering. And then before you know it, they turn around and begin to point finger. And begin to say things like, why is it that God is not doing this for me? Why isn't he doing that for me? I've done everything right. I've done this. I've done that. I help people. How come I'm suffering? How come I don't have this? How come I don't have that? Because you've totally missed the point. You go to in the book of Timothy. It tells us exactly how to live. That is where you see the standard of living that the Most High gave us. A very simple standard of living. Very simple, not complicated at all. It's very, very simple. The way that he wants us to live. Very simple. The reason why we're suffering today is because we are no longer living that way. That's why we're suffering. 1 Timothy chapter 6 from verse 6 to verse 10. 1 Timothy chapter 6 from verse 6 to verse 10. 1 Timothy chapter 6 from verse 6 to verse 10. It says, 1 Timothy chapter 6 from verse 6 to verse 10. Of course, there is great gain in godliness combined with contentment. For we brought nothing into the world, so that if we take nothing, so that we can't take nothing out of it. Verse 8, but if we have food and clothing, we will be content with these. But those who want to be rich fall into temptation and are trapped by many senseless, harmful desire that plunge people into ruin and destruction. Look at verse 9. 1 Timothy chapter 6 verse 9. But those who want to be rich fall into temptation. and are trapped by many senseless, harmful desire that plunge people into ruin and destruction. Those that want to be rich get trapped. They are tempted and they get trapped into the system of this world. Oh my goodness. This is exactly what's happening today. This is why people go to school, because of money. But then they end up being trapped into the system. They cannot keep the law. So what happens? That's when people begin to believe that, oh, we are under grace. We are under grace. They begin to believe that. Because they are now trapped into their job. They're trapped into their job. I know someone who knows about the Sabbath. They know about the Sabbath. They know we have to keep the Sabbath. But they are not. Because they are making so much money in their job. They're making a lot of money. They tried to get a lower position. They couldn't. They wanted to get a lower position in their company so they can be able to work less and keep the Sabbath. They took that position and they gave it to someone else. And as far as I'm concerned, till this day, this person has not started keeping the Sabbath because of his company. They are still not keeping the Sabbath because of his company. And we know that according to Isaiah chapter 56 and Isaiah chapter 58, Isaiah 58 and Isaiah chapter 56 and Isaiah chapter 58, we can see that the only way you're going to be allowed into the kingdom is that if you have to keep the Sabbath along with the other laws. You have to keep the Sabbath along with the other laws. But we're not seeing that much of that today. So people get trapped into the European system. The European system is the satanic system because Satan have chosen the Europeans to use them as Satan have decided to use them as basically a tool. That's why they created the system that they created, to keep you busy focusing on things that doesn't matter. On the judgment day, Yah will not ask me about my degree. He wouldn't ask me about my house. He wouldn't ask me any of that. He will not ask any of that. According to Romans chapter 2. Notice that I'm not quoting Leviticus or Deuteronomy on this one. According to Romans chapter 2, the Most High will judge us based on how we kept His law. He will judge us based on how we kept the commandment. But Satan have managed to distract people from keeping the commandment. That's why they want your children so bad, so they can start early in brainwashing them. Start early by brainwashing them, like the call that I got from the young boy that told me that he wants to grow his beard, but his school will not allow him to grow a beard. His school refuses to allow him to grow a beard in his high school. Most people don't know this. Most parents don't even know this. I didn't even know before I got that call from him that they will be in school system. They require them that they must shave their beard. Now, what does this young boy, 16 years old, what does his beard have to do with his education? His beard doesn't interfere with his education. But they require him that he must shave. Even though Yah told us in Leviticus chapter 19:27, Leviticus 19:27, that we should not destroy the edges of our beard. So these are things that, this is just First Timothy chapter 6. This is just First Timothy chapter 6. We have Matthew chapter 6 also. Matthew chapter 6, you see Yeshua Christ. You see Yeshua in Matthew chapter 6 telling us to seek first the kingdom of Yah and his righteousness, and every other thing will be added unto us. To seek first the kingdom and his righteousness, and every other thing will be added unto us. So we are no longer living this way. That's why we're suffering. That's why we have diseases. We're not keeping the law. People refuse to keep the law. They continue to eat whatever they want, and then when they get sick, it's easy to start pointing finger at the Most High and say, well, that point finger and say that yeah, I got sick because why isn't Yah helping me? What? No, it has nothing to do with the Most High. We get sick because of the things that we ate, or the things that we're eating, or the things that our ancestors was eating. If your dad was eating things that are really, really bad, it's going to affect his sperm, and you are your dad's sperm. If he was eating food that were not good, it's going to affect you. When a woman gives birth to a child and she is eating junk, it's going to affect the new baby. It will affect the new baby because the baby will survive initially from the breast milk of the mother, not of a cow, not of a goat. So these are the reasons why we're suffering, and it's easy for a lawkeeper to begin to think and begin to feel justified, feel righteous. It's easy for a lawkeeper to begin to feel bad and begin to feel like, how come I'm begging for this? How come I'm begging for this? How come I'm asking Yah to give me this? And how come Yah is not doing this for me? How come this? How come that? Is easy. Let us not do that. Rather, let us have a humble spirit, and whatever the circumstances, let us always be grateful to the Most High. No matter the circumstances, no matter the situation that you find yourself in, always be grateful. Always be thankful to Yah. Always thank Him, knowing fully well that things could have been worse. Knowing fully well that there are people right now who are in worst shape that you are in. There are people that has been in coma for 4 months, 5 months. They are still in coma. They are not even moving. They are not. They have to be force fed through a feeding tube. There are people now who are not dead. They are not dead, but they are worse off. They are in coma. They are bound in wheelchairs. They are bound in there are all kinds of all kinds of people suffering. Whatever you're going through, it's nothing compared to what people are suffering out there. So it's important to be careful and be grateful to the Most High, so that we don't get, like as I said, accused or be trapped by Satan, convincing you that you have been very good, you have done very well and you've observed the law. How come the Most High is not doing this or that for you? It's very easy to get into that situation, and the result is not going to be good. Every day when you wake up, thank our Heavenly Father. Always be grateful, even when things goes wrong, even when things did not work out the way that you wanted to work out. Always be grateful, because you know what? At least you have your life. At least you have your life. We can try tomorrow. Yes, you tried yesterday and you failed. Try tomorrow. So when someone is alive, they have an opportunity. You have an opportunity to, for things to get better. And we have to focus on that and thank our Heavenly Father and try our best to live according to His laws and His standard. People feel like they are poor today. Some people feel like they are poor, and they're not really poor. They're not poor, but they feel like they're poor. Why do they feel like they're poor? Because they're not able to catch up with with people who are going after the European system. So if there are people who are sad, and you can actually hear people today say stuff like this, people who are sad because their children did not go to university and they are sad. No, you don't have to be sad. That's a good thing that your children did not go to university. That's a good thing. But there are people who are sad, and then there are kids like in Japan and in Asia, there are kids who are killing themselves. They are killing themselves because they're not able to get enough good grades to impress their Asian friends, their Asian parents. So we have to be careful not to be one of those people, but rather to appreciate and be grateful and be thankful always to our Heavenly Father, always. And not when you are unclean. When you're unclean, don't do that. But when you are clean, it's always a good idea to be grateful. And when you meditate in the book of the law, it helps to guide you in the way that we should go. This is something that is very important. I really strongly encourage you to read the book of Job, because if you read the book of Job, you're going to see this in action. The book of Job, you see it in action. How everything was going well, and then everything didn't go well, and he was under pressure to compromise and begin to question Yah. And you can see the hesitant. Job really didn't want to do it. Job did not really want to complain, because he was grateful. And look at what happened at the end. So right now, I'm going to put this way. I think this will help you a little bit more if you understand what's going on in the world. Like Yeshua says in Revelation chapter 2, verse 9. Revelation chapter 2, verse 9. In Revelation chapter 2, verse 9, it says, I know your works, your tribulation, and your poverty. I know your works, your tribulation, and your poverty. So, and then it says, I know the blasphemy of them that claim to be Jews but are not. So, we are supposed to, the truth is that we're supposed to be at the bottom. We're supposed to be at the bottom. The Europeans, the Gentiles are supposed to be at the top. This is their time. This is in our time. We're looking forward to our own days and our own time, our kingdom. That's what we're looking forward to, the kingdom of Yeshua, the kingdom of Yah. That's what we're looking forward to. Right now, we are living in someone else's kingdom. And the Europeans are the ones that own this system right now. The Europeans are the ones that owns this particular. So, of course, you can understand that if you try to keep the law, then you cannot make it in their system. It's very difficult to really have a peaceful life in their system. It's very difficult. So if we decide to go by Yah's way and begin to live the way that He wants us to live, you will notice that the pressure that you face will begin to decrease. You begin to decrease, and you begin to, you begin to have, instead of, for example, instead of living in a 5-bedroom or 10-bedroom rented house, you would rather live in a one bedroom tiny home or a mini house, because you know that 1 bedroom is yours. It's better than that 5 bedrooms. It's better than the 5 bedrooms that you are renting from someone. 1 bedroom that belongs to you is better than 5 bedrooms you're renting from someone. And these are things that when we begin to we need to make some changes. We need to get away from where we are and go somewhere else, so that we'll be able to be in a place where we'll be able to properly make these changes. These changes are very difficult when you live among the Gentiles, because I use the house. I use the house as an example. How difficult it is to actually own a house, because they design their system that you can never stop paying the property tax. As long as you're alive, you'll be paying the property tax. So it makes it difficult for you to build your own house. So we have to understand this, and understand that the standard of living that the world is currently living right now is different from the same standard of living that Yah wants us to live. So, and there are consequences with this standard of living, because if you are a Gentile, you can easily survive in their system if you are a Gentile. But if you are a Hebrew, then you find out that it's hard to survive in their system. It's very difficult how their system is designed. It's designed to be against you. That's why you have that particular experiment that was done some time ago, where they prepared a resume and they put a name of a Hebrew Israelite woman, and companies was rejecting the resume. But they took the same resume and put a name of a white woman on the resume, and companies was accepting the same resume. So they were rejecting it when it has a name that looks like a Hebrew name, and they were accepting it when it has a name that sounds like a name of a white woman. So that is the system that you have in the world right now, and it's rigged against you. It's against you. Don't try to follow that system. Rather, try to follow the ways and the commandment of the Most High. You're going to have a much peaceful future. So these are things that once we understand it and understand what could have been happening to us, that Yah could have destroyed us, that He could have wiped out the Israelites and start all over with a new nation. Once we understand these things, then we begin to appreciate the things that Yah is doing for us. Don't forget that Yeshua was a homeless man. Yeshua HaMashiach was a homeless man. It's not that he couldn't. It's not that he couldn't do something to have money appear, but Yeshua HaMashiach was a homeless man to make a point to us, to make a point that by all means we have to keep the commandment, by all means, even if it means going homeless. But if you do the right thing and press your button very well, if you do the right thing, you don't have to be homeless. You don't have to follow the satanic system to become successful. If you do it Yah's way and do it correctly, you can still be successful while keeping Yah's law. And in that case, if you do it the right way, in that case, you'll be able to keep the commandment and so once you understand it, the situation that things could have been worse, then no matter what's going on, no matter the situation that you find yourself in, you will always be thankful and try to, instead of pointing finger at Yah and complaining, try to find natural ways to cure whatever the situation is. Try to find, if it's about health, if it's about something that has to do with the Sabbath, whatever it is, try to, get into a situation where you get back home and then you both spiritual and but I think you get my point. You get the point, and so that you can continue on being like Job and not become perfect in the sight of Yah. You don't want to become perfect. I don't want to become perfect in the sight of Yah. I don't want to keep the law and be have good relationship with Yah, but then at the end of the day, I fall because I begin to become proud by thinking, oh, look at me, I'm so close to Yah, I'm keeping all the laws, I'm doing this, and then maybe something happens, and I begin to think, how come Yah is not answering my prayer? How come Yah was not answering my prayer? How come this? It's so easy. And you see this beautiful thing, the fact that you're growing, the fact that you are learning and growing and coming close to Yah will then become a stumbling block. Oh no, I don't want that to happen. I don't want it to happen. I really, really don't want it to happen. You have to be careful. I'm going to give you, in closing, I will give you two examples. David, let's see, Second Samuel. Let's see Second Samuel when David was on the ground. David was on the ground praying and crying and hoping that that the baby will stay alive. The baby that came as a result of the adultery. So First Samuel, Second Samuel chapter, let's do chapter 12 and chapter 13. Okay, so chapter 12. So I want to show you something here. I'm going to read this real quick, and I want you to see David's attitude and David's behavior in Second Samuel chapter 12 from verse 15. Second Samuel chapter 12. Actually, let's start from verse 15. Second Samuel chapter 12 from verse 15. Second Samuel chapter 12 from verse 15. It says, Then Yah struck the child that Uriah's wife bore to David, and he became very ill. David therefore pleaded with Elohim for the child. David fasted and went in and lay all night on the ground. Verse 17, Second Samuel chapter 12, verse 17. 2 Samuel 12, 17. The elders of his house stood beside him. First Samuel chapter, Second Samuel chapter 12, verse 17. Then the elders of his house stood beside him, urging him to rise from the ground, but he will not, nor did he eat food with them. Verse 18, 2 Samuel chapter 12, 18. On the seventh day, the child died, and the servant of David were afraid to tell him that the child was dead, for they said, while the child was alive, we spoke to him, and he did not listen to us. How can we tell him the child is dead? David saw that his servants were preparing together. He perceived that the child, David saw verse 19, but when David saw that his servants were whispering together, he perceived that the child was dead. And David said to his servant, is the child dead? They said, he is dead. Verse 20, then David rose from the ground, washed, anointed. Verse 20, then David, so after they confirmed that the baby is dead, so David rose from the ground. Verse 20, 2 Samuel chapter 12, verse 20. 2 Samuel 12, 20. Then David rose from the ground, washed, anointed himself, and changed his clothes. He went into the house of Yah and worshipped. He then went to his own house. So here you have David begging, pleading with Yah, please to not let that child die. He didn't want that child to die. And eventually Yah killed the baby. And when David found out that the child was dead, when David found out, he got up from the ground where he was staying. No. David got up from the ground and went straight to the house of Yah, prayed, and then went back home and ate some food. So this thing surprised his servant. So verse 20, 2 Samuel chapter 12, verse 20. Then David rose from the ground, anointed himself, and changed his clothes. He went into the house of Yah and worshipped. He then went to his house, and when he asked, they set food before him, and he ate. Verse 21. Then his servant said unto him, what is this thing that you have done? You fasted and wept for the child while it was alive. But when the child died, you rose and ate food. He said, while the child was still alive, I fasted. While the child, verse 22, he said, while the child was still alive, I fasted and wept. For I said, who knows, Yah may be gracious to me and the child may live. But now he is dead. Why should I fast? Can I bring him back again and stand? So the reason why I brought you to this scripture is that David was asking for something. And when he couldn't get that thing, when Yah killed that child, you see that David went into the house of Yah to go worship. If it's us today, we will be very upset, very, very angry, and that's when those kind of questions will begin to come up. How come God is not answering? How come God is not doing this? How come God is not answering? How come, But you see David getting up and going into the house of Yah to worship. So that was what he did. So when people are, even Yeshua HaMashiach, when he prayed to Yah for Yah to make the cause, for Yah to make the cup to be taken away from him, he didn't want to go to the cross and die like that. Yah did not answer that prayer. The Most High did not answer that prayer that Yeshua prayed. And what did Yeshua do? He still went into Yeshua still went in and died. So we should have the same attitude. We should, no matter the situation or the circumstances, we should be grateful to our Heavenly Father, no matter the situation, and understand that we don't deserve the things that we're getting. We don't deserve the life that we're living, the good health that we have. All of those things, we can never thank our Heavenly Father enough for those things. And I've given you example with David. You have David, you have Job, you have Yeshua, who were in a situation where they still go on to, they don't let, they still thank our Heavenly Father, no matter the situation, no matter the circumstances, they still thank Yah. So I thank our Heavenly Father for this information, for this, and I pray in Yeshua's name that you will be strong enough so that as you are getting stronger and stronger spiritually, and you're learning and you're growing spiritually, there's also a chance that you can also fall from the other side. So as you're trying to protect yourself from this side, it's easy to fall from the other side, which is the side of thinking, oh, look at me, I'm so righteous, I'm so this, I'm so righteous, and it's easy to look at the stuff that the things that you're doing. It's easy to look at those things and begin to ask yourself, especially if something comes up. Something may come up. Maybe you have a need for money. Maybe whatever the reason is, it may come up. It's easy to start, to start feeling bad and start feeling like, because I've been keeping the law, Yah is supposed to make this thing easy for me. This thing should be easy because I do keep the law. Because I keep the law, this thing should be easy. It's not good to have that kind of mindset, but rather we need to have a thankful, graceful, appreciative mindset, no matter the circumstances. And if it's Yah's will, He will grant whatever the desire is, if it's His will. If it's not His will, He's not going to do it just because, we're asking, So I thank our Heavenly Father for everything, and I give Yah all the glory and all the honor as always, like I always say. As we go through these things, if you do have any question, or anything that has to do with this, I am always, my phone line is always open for those that do have any questions. My phone lines are always open for that. You can always call me. But as you keep this law, it's very important to understand this side of our downfall, this side of, something we can do that can actually bring us down. We need to understand that. So I thank our Heavenly Father for everything, and I pray in Yeshua's name that He will strengthen every one of us to continue to be grateful, to continue to be graceful, and be humble, and really do appreciate what Yah have done for us. The fact that He's giving us life every day, every second, every second. Yah is constantly blessing us, because He can cut it down. He can shut this whole thing down any moment. But Yah is merciful. He is kind. He is loving. And no matter the circumstances, even in homelessness, even in poverty, even in hunger, no matter the circumstances, we are always to be grateful. It doesn't mean that you should be shouting and jumping up and down, and no, but simply acknowledging and keeping it in our mind and acknowledging that's very, 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 very much necessary. And be careful and know that we know these things because Yah opened our eyes to know these things. We understand these things because Yah opened our eyes to understand these things. So I thank our Heavenly Father for everything. Let's be humble. Let's be grateful as we keep these laws, and not be arrogant and proud, and and be demanding things from the Most High. If it's His will, He will answer whatever prayer that we have we're praying, but we have to be keeping the law, like it says in Proverbs 28 verse 9. It says in Proverbs 28 verse 9, whoever turns their ear from hearing the law, even their prayer will be an abomination. Whoever turns their ear from hearing the law, their prayer will be an abomination. So if we want to get our prayers answered, like that brother that I was talking about, that brother was complaining that he feels that Yah is against him or God is against him. Well, at that time, the brother that was praying that was saying that he feels that Yah was against him. There were things that he wasn't doing right at that time. I don't know about now, but at that time, there were things that he wasn't doing right that I know of, like Sabbath and fringes. There's no way the Most High is going to answer you, your prayer when you are actively being rebellious. If you don't know, that's a different thing. But he knew. He knows about fringes. He knows about the Sabbath. But yet he still did not keep it. So I thank our Heavenly Father for everything. I give you all the glory and all the honor, and I pray that He gives you the strength and the ability to be able to resist the deception of the enemy that will try to basically be self-righteous, cause us to commit a self-righteousness sin. So again, like as I said, we went through a lot. Like I mentioned, we went through a lot. For those that do have any question that relates to any of this, you're more than welcome to contact me. So all praises to Yah.